with another exclusive. Yeah, I should have prepared some clapping sound effect or something. We have a new exclusive session on CGconnect, this time with my friend Tom Grimes at the Corona and Fireside community. I love this name, by the way. The Fireside, it makes it feel cozy, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hoping for. Nice cozy chat, just sit back, no formality. Just imagine we're in some little cozy room or cups of coffee or whatever you like to drink.
Or a hot chocolate, if
hot chocolate,
both, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go. We have a lot of people already with us. We have Amit, Renato, Tio. Who else here? Oh my God, I'm scrolling because they're all talking at the same time, so I have to scroll. Richard, Marlon, Mikhail. Let's see. So nice to have you all here for this session, and would like to start. Of course, we're starting this conversation, and the chat is open to you, so you can ask away there. Everything is on the table. You can ask your questions about Corona, maybe guitars. I don't know. You never know how.
Why would you suggest that?
Yeah, I don't know. I would also suggest talking about hats, for example, and how they're making a comeback to fashion, to male fashion.
Oh, good. I'll be fashionable again at last.
Yeah, I hope they're making a comeback. To be honest,
and the only reason I'm not wearing my hat is because it doesn't work with these headphones.
yeah. They didn't look as cool with headphones on, right? Like Cowboy Bebop or something.
Well, apparently I have a huge head, so I have to get these really big size hats, and then they're really tight. So there's just no way with this extra. That's it. It just wouldn't fit. And it's too big a hat to put the headphones on top of it because it's very much your Tennessee cowboy type hat or something. I don't know. It's not like a full on 10-gallon hat. So.
Yeah, totally. And I have to agree with Richard because hats never went out of fashion. That's true. But I'm still waiting for them to make a proper comeback so I can wear my hat proudly on the street without people looking at me like I'm a weirdo or something because, people do. Maybe it's not because of the hat, though.
Not just blame the hat. I mean, you can always move to Nashville and nobody will think twice if you're wearing the hat because they do have those giant 10-gallon heavy kind of hats. I would be looking at them.
Like, all right. Okay. We do have a question, but it's regarding your guitar abilities. Did we ever get a guitar solo from Tom?
No, I'm afraid you did not. Not yet.
I'm gonna do like those YouTubers. Like, stick around to the end of this video to see Tom, his performance.
The only issue I have, as well as not playing as frequently as I should, so I'm rusty, is also I always do everything on the computer through VSTs, and it's on my other computer, so I can't run through that. And I do have an amp, but it's a valve amp, and it weighs a ton. And it's in my front room, and I'm very reluctant to move it. It's a Vox AC15, and I love the Vox amps. And it's really heavy, and it's like it would take me a while, and I'd have to set things up. So maybe one day, but unfortunately not today. I'm sorry, everybody. I will drag that thing through and play some of it. Yeah.
So I say we have enough warming up. We can jump to our questions. And of course, just to give you guys a little context, I would like to ask you, Tom, for how long have you been working with Corona and Chaos as a whole?
10 years in April, actually. It was actually my, whatever you call it, decade. There must be a word for it. But yeah, 10 years in April. I joined, I think it was April 6th, 2016. I joined what was then Render Legion, joined the Corona team there. And I'd been a user for YouTube beforehand. I'm sorry?
Your role back then, like you joined Render Legion with Ondra and all the guys. And
Ondra, Adam, and Yaroslav, and I joined as, it was just titled marketing specialist. It was because obviously we were quite small and kind of informal back then. This became the product marketing manager. which I was up until about 3, 4 years ago. I forget. I'm old. What can I say? Memory doesn't serve well anymore. And then I swapped from PMM to PM to product manager. So that's where we are today. So yeah, and it's
Cool.
been a cool 10 years, I can say.
I bet. I bet. My 10 years with Chaos have been nothing but wonderful. So I can
Mm-hmm.
totally imagine. Now, currently, what is your role regarding Corona, specifically the renderer? Like, uh, do you like, are you the guy that we should all cry for new features when we want them?
Yep.
Like, what is your role?
Yeah, but please cry for new features through the official channels. And that's, I know it sounds a bit annoying, but the thing is, if you just ping me, I'm afraid I will forget. And, but the thing about everything coming in through, right now we're using the AHA portal. We have used the forum in the past. And the thing is, it lets us keep track of them and make sure that everything can be prioritized, ordered. And also, it's just so that you're not reliant on one person knowing what's been requested. So that's why I say official channels. It sounds a bit stuffy. I know. I mean, you can feel free to ping me, and I'm happy to talk about them. I'll probably end the conversation with, oh, and so please put this on the, whatever the official channel is at the time. But yeah, so the role is essentially overseeing the direction the product is going in. And as part of that, it's paying attention to what our users want. Also, trying to second guess what they might want, they just don't know it yet. So it's never just, I mean, okay, responding to requests is important, but we try and look ahead. And, nobody asked for light mix, for example, when we went, oh, have light mix, which I think I'd say is now one of our most popular features. And of course, it's moved over to V-Ray as well. So we always try and look ahead and come up with things that you might want that maybe hasn't occurred to you yet, as well as listening to the very specific things that have occurred to you and you'd like to see. And so, yeah, my role is kind of making sure I hear all that, see all that, gather it, prioritize it, pay attention to the market as a whole and the industries, anything that CG's in, what's happening to it, what are the needs out there, and trying to boil this all down into an action plan, as it were, for where Corona is going over the longer term and to some degree the shorter term, mostly the longer term.
All right. Now, speaking of the longer term or the short term or any term at all, what's the state of Corona right now? Like, where are we at? We're talking Corona 14, right? Update.
That's update 1 or 2. I must admit, I have forgotten which one we got to. Because I say I've forgotten because the good news is all my focus is on Corona 15, which actually will be out by the end of the month. If all goes well, that should be the 27th. And so far, everything is going well. The nature of development, of course, is you can always be surprised. Sometimes in good ways, sometimes in bad ways. But that's the plan right now. So the end of the month, we'll see Corona 15 coming out with a lot of stuff in it.
Cool. Now, I'll start with a proper question here. I already see some questions lined up here. But my first point is, how do you see the development of Corona during the past, let's say, 5 years? Right. I know we had the pandemics and stuff, and that was a pretty bad, period of time for developing anything. But can you give us like a rundown of how Corona developed in the recent years? Like, because I remember when I started using Corona, although I'm a V-Ray guy, I have to admit I've always used V-Ray, but I also know how to use Corona. Right? What can I say? I started V-Ray 25 years ago. It's like it's been a while, and I remember when Ondra he released the first Corona, I did some tests and I really liked the simplicity and everything. But
Mm.
it evolved a lot since then, right? We're talking again 10 years, or even
Yes.
more longer. So, like, how did Corona evolve in the past years? With there's AI recently. There's AI, but also
Hmm.
some differences. Like when Render Legion was acquired by Chaos, like we had some, you know, like how can I say, interchange of information or exchange of
Yeah. Oh,
information.
yeah.
So how did it
And
evolve?
And I think that's the main focus. So, I mean, Corona itself hasn't changed. Our aim is to deliver you photorealism that is very easy to achieve. And that's still true. We want like an easy UI, easy tools that are super useful, particularly for art viz. Although, people use it for product and automotive viz. And that's still the central core of Corona. But what's happened over the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, especially, is we're taking advantage of the fact that we're part of a bigger company, Chaos, and all these other products that are within Chaos, like V-Ray, like Vantage, like Anima, and the idea is rather than being an island. I mean, we still keep our focus on what we want Corona to be, but there's also no reason why we shouldn't expand that by connecting up to the Chaos ecosystem and giving people access to lots of other tools that will give them lots of other options. So, because basically we don't want to, if you buy Corona, we don't want to say, well, that's it, you've locked yourself in now. And so, if you do want GPU rendering or real time rendering, there are ways to get everything across into Vantage because Vantage is there, it's excellent. Why shouldn't we build a bridge? And that's been it, build these bridges to other tools. And we're continuing that. And you're quite right. Over the last 2 years, especially, I mean, maybe as long as 3 years ago, AI has become um, increasingly important. I mean, it certainly is a topic of discussion, and it's not up to us to be the gatekeepers of whether you use AI or not. This is our take. It's your choice. It should be your choice. But once again, if you, choose Corona and it's a CPU render engine, I mean, why shouldn't you also have access to some AI capabilities? Now, we've seen that over the last couple of years with the AI enhancer, the AI upscaler, AI material generation. And if you haven't looked at those, they've undergone some really good recent improvements. The AI enhancer has more accuracy when refining people and vegetation. And there's the large surfaces, which is super great for selecting, say, a concrete floor or a pavement or a brick wall. And you can add cracks and wear and tear to it to give your scene that sort of extra level of detail. And with material generator, you can now generate 4K materials. I think it was 2K was the maximum size before. But you can now use the material generator, which as well as actually being, again, more accurate in coming up with a texture that works well for tiling. So you don't see the tiling, in other words. See what I mean? Works well to not do tiling, and it's been expanded to include 4K. So those have been there for a while, and they're continuing to be important. We don't see that as being, why should we lock you out of AI if you want to use it, and we understand if you don't. But also we have. I'll just say there's other plans coming up that you should keep your eye on for when Corona 15 comes out later this month. There's some good stuff that will, if you want to have AI options, we'll be expanding on that for you. And again, it'll be a choice. It'll just be there if you want to use it. I like to say it's like having cars in your garage. You might want an SUV, an off-roader, a truck, a muscle car, a motorbike, because they're all good for different things. And you don't want to go to the car dealership and buy just one and that's it, you're stuck. What you want to do is open up your garage and pick whatever you need for a particular project, for the particular phase of a project. If you want to use AI, I don't see why we shouldn't provide you with an integrated way of doing that within the Chaos ecosystem, without having to go and have extra subscriptions with third parties and move stuff around. And if you don't want to use AI, well, the fact it's there, you don't have to use it. And ultimately, Corona doesn't change. It's no less important than it was. In fact, I actually find from my tests that the best results you can get from AI is if you drive it with a really good render engine first. You feed it some I mean, it doesn't have to be complete because you might let AI polish up the final details. But it's really good if you feed it with a V-Ray or a Corona render. There's some beautiful artwork was shared on the Corona forum where somebody had done exactly that. He was using an external AI tool for now that hopefully will have ways by the end of this month that he won't need to. But anyway, he rendered a set of still images. He'd used cloth sim and everything to make the images a good starting point, and then he'd used image to video. And the video looked so much better than what you would see if you just, I don't know, prompted something in AI from scratch or gave it a fairly poor render or a clay render. So the fact he started from a really, really nice Corona render, the images on their own were beautiful, and then AI turned it into what was that? Actually, a lovely animation. So to me, this fusion is where, if you want AI to be good and not slop, the old traditional CPU render engines or Vantage. I've seen some great work where people take Vantage content and feed it through AI. And this combo, so I don't think AI is making the traditional ways obsolete. I think they complement each other so well, and you can't really get the best out of AI without getting the best out of the old ways. And if you want to just use the old ways, you don't want to not be able to return to CPU rendering and make a beautiful image or beautiful animation. So, that's how I see it fitting in. And we have plans, as I say. I can't talk about them just yet, but keep an eye out for when 15 comes out and for later this month, and you'll see what I've been hinting at.
You just used an analogy that I was actually thinking of it. Like it's a render is like having a car. So you have different types of cars or transportations that will take you from A to B in different ways with different levels of comfort and speed and everything. So sometimes, like when you're, for example, in our case at Chaos, that we have a huge portfolio of products that sometimes people go like, yeah, why can't Corona be GPU powered, for example? Because then it will become V-Ray, for example.
Yep.
Right? So it's like sometimes people just they don't realize that, of course, but they're asking, why can't my motorcycle have four wheels? Because then
it's a
it would
car.
be a car.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty much how it works. Now we do have questions already here.
Oh yeah, let's give it.
Edgar.
Sorry, I'll keep a little bit quiet because I really do want to hear from everybody. Don't want to dominate this, but I tend to talk too much, so I apologize.
No, we're cool. So, do you think that Corona will take its place as a disruptive render engine with easy of use and power tools? Nowadays, other render engines are more attractive using AI tools. Any thoughts on that? I think we kind of
Well,
already addressed that, right?
Yeah, we've kind of that is obviously something we're aware of. How do you work with the benefits that Corona brings you, but also work with the benefits that AI can offer you? How do we make sure you have that choice, that you're not locked in? Because during ideation, you might want to use AI for quick ideation. You just want to generate images, talk to the client, and get a direction before they've signed off on, before you start building out the scene in 3D. But you may still want at the end of the project to use Corona for the highest quality and highest control in terms of what you output, highest accuracy, if that's important for the project. But yeah, there are other projects, maybe a client approaches you with a really low budget and you're like, you're not really going to cover my costs to build this completely in 3D and make it highly detailed, make a beautiful render. But if you've got AI, it's like, well, maybe this fits this project as a final deliverable, even. Or so, yeah, you don't want to be locked in as our take. But you want to be able to make that choice again and again and choose differently as you go through a project, as you move from project to project, and that's what we aim to resolve, I hope, or at very least make easier for you later this month. And as I say, there'll be a big announcement about it, so you'll get all the details when that rolls around. It will be part of Corona 15 too, so it will definitely apply to our Corona users. So we agree. I mean, we think AI has a lot of very great uses. I don't think it replaces or kills off old style rendering any more than GPU rendering, which has been around for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. I know for the last 15 years, 20 years, I've heard CPU rendering is dead, GPU is it, and it still hasn't happened. There are still reasons to prefer CPU, either on a project by project basis or and I mean that's why we're still going to keep working on Corona to make it the best CPU engine you can have. But we also want to give you access to Vantage if you want that GPU in real time rendering. We want to give you access to AI if you want to be almost purely AI. Render a quick play model of 3 cubes and tell AI it's 3 skyscrapers, and it will generate pretty good image or even a video for you. And we want you to have all those choices so that you're not locked into a particular way of tackling your work, and that freedom of choice remains yours.
And
I
in the
hope that
end of the
answers the question.
day, yeah, yeah, totally. And I was going to say that in the end of the day, the best tool is the one that allows you to do what you want to do, right? I see a lot of people like when they talk about AI, they think that AI will necessarily replace something altogether. Why can't it be
Yes.
added to the workflow?
Yes.
So why can
Exactly.
I was having a conversation with Bessie earlier today, and I told her like, for me, for my workflow as an artist, AI is much more of a Photoshop replacement than a renderer replacer. But really, like
Yes. I'd agree. I'd
because
agree.
that's my
Yeah.
workflow, and we cannot because to me, when people say AI, they're actually referring to computer graphics. Like it's too much of a it's too broad of a concept, so people can refer to it. Uh,
And also, just sorry to interrupt. I was just going to
sure.
say the other thing that I think that people forget. Sure, anybody can fire up an AI and give it a prompt, or give it an image and a prompt, and it'll do something. Make a video out of it. But the one thing AI really still doesn't have, and I actually don't see it developing, is a sense of good taste, a sense of storytelling, a sense necessarily of mood and atmosphere. And you still need a human being in the process to pick which results are good, which are not, how to shape and drive it towards something that is actually a piece of art and not just another AI image. And so I don't actually feel our jobs as creatives are, at this point anyway, threatened by AI. And I actually, personally, I feel AI has probably got a plateau where it, I don't know, runs out of data, runs out of data centers, whatever. I don't think it's going to become AGI and do everything with just a push of a button, or it'll read your mind. I still think it will be, as you say, a tool that you can choose to use when it's useful and not use when it's not. And you want if you're a handyman, you want your bag full of different tools because you can pull out
Right.
your chisel or your hammer or your screwdriver, whatever it is you need based on what you're doing.
Yes, and we're the ones who should be aware of that in first place.
Yes. Yeah, and also when you get all this hype about what AI is going to do, just ask yourself. It's like if you hear a salesman telling you something that's great, you've got to say who benefits from this message. And if it's the person telling you the message, if it's the AI company telling you, "Oh, we're going to replace your job because we're so brilliant," who benefits? Oh, well, the AI company. So there's probably at least some element of hype and snake oil in there. So put the hype aside and assess the tools for yourself and decide what it means for you, your workflow, and how you can actually make use of it to make things better for yourself.
Now we have another interesting question from
Hmm.
Salvatore. I loved Corona Render for the last 8 years or more, but interests moved to Houdini. Is there a little
Oh.
possibility of having Corona for Houdini in the future? How big could this user base be?
There isn't nothing on the certainly on the short term plan. Actually, sort of migrating over to another DCC is harder than you might think. Is all I can say. It sounds like it should be easy because the core of Kuna stays the same, but actually building connections into Houdini or whatever it is, Max and C4D as we've done. So, but you're right. Houdini's a pretty awesome tool. I've seen what people can create with it, and I love its approach to how it handles 3D. But at the moment, we are not considering so converting Corona over to any other DCC, just Max and C4D, and will remain our focus. Obviously, the future is the future, and who knows? But I don't want to get hopes up. So right now, there's nothing on the table. It's not being discussed. It's not being considered. But ask me again next year and the year after, and we'll see where we go.
Yeah, and we have to. We cannot forget that whatever you're trying to develop a software to run with another software with the DCC, such as Houdini or Maya Max or whatever, you're always subject to what the company behind that software allows you to do inside of it. Some softwares, and this is something that most people don't talk about, but some softwares are not that friendly for you to implement
Right.
everything that you need. So if and I'm not saying this is the case here with Houdini, but sometimes we want to implement your software in another DCC and you just can't implement it deep enough so it is your software. Like what
Yeah.
makes Corona V-Ray or whatever great cannot be implemented in that way because that's not how
Yeah.
it works. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's just
And this
better
is
to not develop an option at all.
and this is why even Corona and Max and C4D, the environments are so different. You'll sometimes see something gets released in C4D, but isn't in Max yet, and that follows, or it's in Max but it isn't in C4D. And obviously we've got the core code and it's working, but there are questions about how it hooks into everything from the viewport or whatever it is, and it can be quite challenging. So unfortunately, it'd be nice if it was easy and we could just make Corona for anything, but it's hard, and at the minute there are no plans. Sorry.
And the other option would be to develop a standalone application. So you could export from one DCC to your application, but then, like, really, it's like putting four wheels on a bike. But
Yeah.
uh, we have another question from Marlon. I see the virtual frame buffer 1 will be removed, and since I never liked the updated VFB, can I still use the classic one?
The question would be, have you tried the VFB? Because we took all the feedback, the new one, we took all the feedback that people had given us, and we modified it based on that feedback to try and address the concerns or reasons people didn't like it. So it has changed. Maybe you've tried it and still don't like it. I'm not saying that's the case, but possibly if you haven't looked over the last 3 to 6 months, you may find this much better. The aim of removing the VFB one is there are several reasons. First of all, keeping it in there just adds a whole lot of complexity. It's extra code. It does make the installation bigger, which is not really a big concern. But the fact is, because it works in a totally different way, there's a whole lot of code libraries and everything that needs to be in there, which complicates maintenance. And it's what they call technical debt. If you leave something old hanging around, it can actually cripple or slow down development on the new stuff or cripple some of the functionality you can add. So unfortunately, the plan to move the VFB1 will go ahead. Do please take a look at the VFB2. And really, to me, the solution is let us know. If you still don't like it, give us the specifics on what you think should be better. Because we already, we've done a round one where we listened to people's feedback and made changes. But that's not the end of it. And people can still keep giving us more feedback on what they'd like to see, what they don't want to see. And there is a lot of new functionality in the VFB two that you'd be missing out on if you use the classic. A lot of connectivity to other Chaos tools, and that is just not possible without what we've got in the VFB2. Let's call it that. And it's also impossible to code those for the VFB1 at the same time. Some of them may not even be possible in the old VFB, to be honest. So unfortunately, I understand, and we did keep it there for a while. For that very reason, we know people have preferences, and we don't like to force something upon people. But eventually, at some point, that becomes the decision, the technical debt, and the way it's slowing down and holding back development. We have to make some sacrifice somewhere. Either it's how fast we're developing Corona, or it's the user's choice to use the VFB one, and one of those has to go, and we reached that point. So, just if you're interested in the kind of thought processes that goes into that, it's not trivial. We think very hard about it, and there's a lot of stuff to weigh up when it comes to development and deciding these things. May not be obvious from the outside, but yeah.
Yes, I was going to say that sometimes it's not obvious, but you have to, like, sometimes you change something here and some other stuff that you thought was totally unrelated stops working
Yes.
altogether, especially when we talk
And
about, compatibility and stuff like that. And speaking of compatibility, we have a question from Amit here. How is the development of Corona and Vantage compatibility going? At least we are
so
hoping to make both of them 90 to 95 compatible or percent compatible so that we can harness the power of it. I love this expression, harness the power of Vantage.
unfortunately, no improvements in 15, but I actually want to make this priority for 16. We have, as you'll see when we get to the release of 15, we have quite a lot of new stuff that we wanted to develop that is kind of important in the global picture. We have a lot of stuff in 15 that's dedicated to Corona, but we also have stuff that's related to the global picture, some of which I've hinted at, but you will have to wait and see what I mean. And this unfortunately limited some of the dev time we have in this round. But I would like to get some more dedicated time specific to let's just improve Vantage. We have a list of things that don't work as well as they could. And Vantage, of course, is offering more now than it used to. So there used to be things like we couldn't convert the Corona slicer material because Vantage didn't have something similar. Now it does, so that means we need to get back to the slicer material and figure out how to make the conversion because that functionality now exists in a form in Vantage. So you won't find any dramatic changes in Vantage compatibility in 15, sorry, but basically as soon as 15 is at the door on May the 28th, the day after, I want to start carving out some very specific time to focus on this because that's where we talk about the ecosystem in the bridges. And that's a bridge that I think's a little bit rickety and should be made firmer and more stable so you can drive a tank across it. And I'd like to put some focus onto that, probably for 16, which would be if all goes according to plan towards the end of the year.
Mhm. And this is important, right? Like makes things right the first time instead of like hitting your head on the wall multiple times until you get it right. And we always have to remember that we have different teams developing each software,
Mm.
right? And if you start like, we want to have the compatibility between Vantage and Corona or whatever about this tool, we are interfering in that other software's roadmap. So
Yes.
it's like it's not something like, yeah, why not? Why haven't we thought of that? Let's do it all together. Like sometimes it's just not how it works.
Not so easy. Yeah, I mean it's a challenge. It's fun, and it's great because also, we're able to pick the brains of the Vive team. How did you solve that? And sometimes we can, virtually copy paste. Other times we can at least learn from the thought process, or whatever. Usually more the second than the first. It's not often we can just lift a solution from either engine, Corona into Vive or Vive into Corona.
Yeah.
But obviously there's benefits there. But also, as you say, there are challenges. Keeping all these teams integrated without completely disrupting their workflow is an interesting challenge. It's what makes my job constantly different every week.
That's good. That's good. We have another question regarding the VFB. Are you planning to implement a VFB similar to V-Ray? I mean, the one with possibility of applying masks directly inside the VFB. This was one of the greatest additions to V-Ray in the past few years, which is the like revamped frame buffer where you could actually start comping your images and stuff. Do we have something in line of that? Like
No plans again at the minute. I mean, if there's a request on the request portal, you can vote for it. there's kind of a reason we don't want to, which is by and large, other tools out there usually offer more flexibility, and rather than giving you a less good version, but hey, it's in the VFP. Go use whatever Photoshop, DaVinci Resolve. If you people use video editors these days for comping stills. Um, Now, just because there's no plans right now, we think there are bigger things that people would enjoy more and benefit from more and speeding up the workflow. Doesn't mean to say never, but there's nothing on the cards at the moment. It's been a request that's been around for a long time, and it's not that we haven't considered it. It's just that we don't feel it is the biggest bang for the buck that we can give to you at this point in time.
Mhm. Now, another question from Michael. Why is Reflection Fresnel still having issues when converting V-Ray to Corona? I believe he's talking about assets that you're converting to use in Corona, or it's been updated to the new version.
I'd have to say, please send in a ticket. I'd need to know which version of Viva you're using, which version of Corona, an example scene with the material you're having trouble with. Clearly, this is another thing that people don't realize is the fundamental structure of the materials are actually very different in Viva and Corona. And sometimes there's a way of doing it with a complicated algorithm where you pull 6 of the settings from one and you do weird things to them, and you can then translate it to 5 of the settings in the other. Sometimes there just isn't a direct way of translating it, and you have to do the best you can. And this is also why Corona to Vantage is a challenge. Vantage is essentially built on the V-Ray material structure, and so we have to get this good conversion from V-Ray to us, but also from us to V-Ray. And sometimes the way it handles reflections can be very different. Now, there's been a lot of improvements. And this is the other thing about please send in a ticket. I don't know when you last tried it, because over the last 12 months or longer, been a lot of improvements, in particular because Cosmos, the fundamental structure of Cosmos is built on V-Ray materials, certainly more than Corona materials. So again, we have to take the Cosmos material definition and turn that into something that Corona can render and that matches what V-Ray would render. But with that ticket, I can't really give you a specific answer, but please send one in. Appreciate it. I know it takes time, but that's what gets everything through to our support team and our devs, if necessary, and me. And maybe we can tell you it's fixed. Maybe there's still an outstanding issue where we can do better. But the ticket is what will let us dive into that, if you could. Thank you.
Yeah, and guys, remember that your feedback is what drives any software forward. Sometimes
Yeah.
we may think that it's working just fine the way it is, and people will be like, "No, it's not. We want that instead of this," and they'll be like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, we never thought of that. Thank you. Let's make it." Feedback is so important. Another question from Richard. On your teaser video a few weeks back, you mentioned the fog system. Are you able to elaborate on that, please?
Well, we were hoping to do some improvements. I don't think we'll necessarily make it in on the fake. Trying to remember what we call it. Atmospheric haze, anyway. But there was a fake version, and because it was fake, it conflicted with certain aspects of the physically realistic stuff. But as I said, we did have to drop a few things from what was on our original plan to find time to fit in some bigger things. Of course, doesn't mean that to say they're forgotten about. Everything gets postponed, not cancelled. And we have a list that we keep, so we'll revisit it. But I suspect that's one that you probably won't see in 3 weeks' time. Maybe see some improvements. Do check out the release candidate. That should be out, say, around about the 20th, I hope. Check over on our forums. And just so people know, I'll give you a heads up, our forums are going to change. There's a much, the current forums are rather old. The search function is terrible, let me tell you from personal experience. So we'll be moving to some new forums. All existing posts will migrate across, as will users. That should be happening towards the end of this month too, and we should end up with Brand new firm, has much more functionality, looks a lot nicer, runs a lot better. Yeah, um, I've got sidetracked. When I mentioned the forums, I was like, I want to give everybody a heads up so you're not taken by surprise. And yeah, when you want to report things to us and tell us things and feedback. So for the what's coming out in 15, the release candidate will be on the forums. Should still be the old forums at that point in time. And you'll be able to grab a copy probably May the 20th and give it a go. It's basically our here is everything. It's final. Please try and break it. Because obviously, once something is out in the hands of you, our users, you have so much more creativity in what you try to do with things and how you apply them, things that we may not have thought of. And this is where, maybe some unthought of bug will crop up. So we appreciate, but it also gives you a chance to try things out pretty much in the final format. Really, it'll only change if there is a bug. But this means you can start playing with all the cool new stuff early. We have a lot of cool new stuff. Some small things. The VFP2 has guidelines now, composition guides, which VV's had for a while, and people have wanted. It's not huge, but on a daily basis, it's great. On terms of bigger things, we're doing faster animation parsing. Corona won't reparse every frame in an animation now. It'll reuse its calculations from the previous frame, so that can add up to a lot of savings. We are doing a brand new thing called the light override material, which I don't think exists in any other render engine. Basically, you can have a material that looks one way under a light or a group of lights, but looks different when illuminated by a different light. Our easiest way to think of this is a UV light, or black light as they call it. You get some paint that's pretty much invisible under ordinary light, but you put a UV light on it, starts to glow. So we've got that. We've got glints added to the physical material. Think the little metallic flakes and car paint, but also things like sand, snow, anything that has kind of a glittery effect to it that comes from these surfaces at different angles that are catching the light. So that's going to be in there. Cameras will be able to remember the render resolution. You'll be able to say that this camera is a portrait, this camera is a landscape. Great for doing batch rendering from camera to camera. Also great if, like me, you come back to a scene in 3 months and you are like, wait a minute, is this the portrait camera or the landscape camera? You won't need to think about that now. The camera will have that baked in. And lots of other stuff. That will have 3D streaming. I don't know if you've checked that out on cloud collaboration, but you can now send your scene, and it is basically a Vantage scene, to the web, and your client or your team or anybody just goes to a URL. They don't install any software. They go to a URL and they can navigate the scene in real time in 3D on their browser, whether that's on a phone, a tablet. So that's in there. There is so much stuff. I could go on for hours, but I won't. So if you want to get a taste of all this nice and early, watch out for the preview builds over the next couple of weeks and the release candidate probably in about the 20th. And then if you don't want to use an in-development version on the 27th, you should have 15 in your hands and you can go wild.
But this feature with the 3D streaming is, for me, is a game changer, really. Like, because I always say that we are sometimes so worried about technology itself that we forget about the actual craft. Like, and talking to a client is part of the craft. Having the client able to, like, they can rotate something or they can see multiple views or whatever. Like, it's such a wonderful feature, and it's not really render related in a way. And people
that's what the whole cloud collaboration is built on that. And I think it's really important. You can upload images and then you can exchange comments back and forth with markup. You keep versions. So when the client says, I didn't ask for that, you can pull up version 2. I'll tell them to pull up version 2 and go, you did. Those are comments. But you can also now do that with video, and this is really cool. If you watch the Vive release video, you've seen this in advance. You can actually leave comments in videos, and you can basically have a start and end time in the video as well as to mark up the video, and so you can have conversations back and forth on videos, and
that has been paid software before that. Like, you'd have to pay for an extra software Not from chaos,
Yes,
from
and oh
like
my gosh,
other people.
it's a long time since I freelanced. As I say, 10 years at Chaos. So, well, it took me a long time ago. But it was always like emails going, oh, I've put this file on Dropbox, here's the link. And they would download it and then try and draw in red pen in, I don't know, paint, because they're not artists, they don't have tools. And they would stick it in the bottom of an email going, change this. And the email, and it was terrible. And you know, I think Cloud is the collaboration features on there, which are there today. You don't need to wait for 15. You can go and try them out. I think they're amazing because yes, delivering a great final product will make a happy client and possibly get you repeat work, but so will talking with the client, hearing what they have to say, responding to them efficiently, making their life easier, and they'll be like, "I love this. I'm coming back to this studio next time
Mhm.
when I want some work done." Is much because of the teamwork and collaboration between you and them as the final deliverable. It really does add up,
Yeah.
and collaboration is going really well. The 3D streaming, the video streaming, there's new notifications. So when you're on cloud collaboration, if they've applied to you, you'll know about it without having to look through the image to see if they've applied. So it's really grown super nicely, and I encourage you all to try it out. I would have loved this 10 years ago. It would have been transformative, especially with some of my more difficult clients. And so, yeah, we'll be announcing these as part of the release video, but they've actually, most of those enhancements are already there today. It's on cloud collaboration. Go try them out, even if you're on Granite 14, and start taking advantage of it, because the idea is, as I said, like 3D streaming, you can send it to a client. They don't need any technical knowledge. They don't need to, which is the problem when you used to do these things. It was like, I don't know, use a game engine and make a .exe. Who wants to run that exe these days with the levels of piracy and malware? And it's like, no, you don't have to do anything. Just as you ever click it, and then you can start walking around the scene. And leave comments as well. You can actually comment in the 3D streaming. You can do markup.
Yeah. People
And that
often
is,
forget that.
to be honest, I've never seen that before. It's always been some complicated third-party tool that ends up creating an exe or something that they have to install on their end, and obviously they won't want to. And now you can avoid all that for your client and make them happy.
Yeah, people often forget that talking to the client is part of your workflow, right? Like
Yes,
it
exactly.
is literally part of the
Yes.
workflow. So you have to have the best tools for the job.
Yeah.
Speaking of tools, let's move on to another question. Speaking of someone who doesn't have a great understanding, this is not really Corona related, but still, I think it's worth mentioning. Understanding of color management in 3ds Max. That's pretty confusing. You're not alone, right? I'm
Definitely.
curious what the current recommended workflow is with. Gonna let me show it again on screen. Uh, the current with Gamma versus OCIO. I've seen quite a bit of conflicting info, and that's true. We saw something like that or similar to that question on our Discord, and please, guys,
Hmm.
feel free to find us on Discord. You have the CGconnect server there. You can find a lot of other, like thousands of other people already there, exchanging info and so on. So, can you elaborate on that? Do you have an answer to Ben?
So, my first take on this is there is a lot of confusion around this. And it mostly arises because people think what's newest is best or better or something along these lines. And whenever people heard about OCIO, they're like, oh, it must be better. Okay, so my take is this. Unless you send something to a client and they go, no, I need it in OCIO, and this is usually if you're dealing with a film company who will need to work with footage from different places, and they need to make sure that the color grade all matches and everything can be integrated smoothly. And unless your client says, "I need this in OCI, this is no good. I need OCI," do not use it. It's not magically better. It really is to do with a pipeline where one person is doing some image or video creation and passing it to somebody else and passing it to somebody else. And OCIO is what lets you make sure that what the person receives is what you intended them to receive. It's not got a weird blue cast over it. It doesn't look like nighttime when it should look like daytime. And that's the purpose of OCIO. And to be quite honest, most of us, certainly as Corona users, don't need to do that. If you need it, you will know and then start using it. Otherwise, Gamma is perfectly fine. You're not missing out. It's not a quality issue. And as I say, for the OCI workflow, if you need it, you'll already know, and you'll know about the intricacies and difficulties, and you can start using it. If it's never occurred to you before, don't worry about the fact that, sounds exciting, it's new, Hollywood uses it or something. There's no actual benefit to using it unless you need to use it. So my suggestion is stick with Gamma. If you get a client who tells you they absolutely must have this, then you'll need to spend a little bit of time learning how it all works between, because it does vary from Max to C4D and all the rest of it. But don't spend the time, don't worry about it, unless you already know that you have to deliver that. Hope that helps.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Marlon has another question. Why does glass refraction always show as solid black in C4D viewport?
Well, this is because we've got Corona materials and they're not the same as C4D materials and viewports. So we're working on that, and you should find some improvements in this in 15. Certainly in terms of speed, but also in terms of one or two materials that don't convert very well over. Hang on, I'm going to put my hand up. I'm not telling you to stop or be quiet. It's because I have this weird AI camera. You'll notice it's been zooming in and out, and it's supposed to respond to hand gestures. So I'm trying to tell it to stop zooming in and out. It's nothing to do with your question.
Stop moving your hands.
Again, it's a conversion issue because obviously how C4D displays its materials, it expects them to be passed in a certain format, and the Corona materials are not. But there are ways to make it better. Not necessarily guaranteed. Check out the daily builds. We should have a daily build for C4D 15 in C4D out either later this week or early next week, and you can try it out. With daily builds or preview builds, I do suggest you don't save any scenes that are critical with the preview. You can load the preview, try a few things, don't save your scenes, reinstall the last official. This is just an abundance of caution. This camera, I have to buy a new one. Hang on, I'm gonna try this again. So yeah, out of an abundance of caution, just be careful if you do use a preview build of any non-final build. Don't save your scenes. At least don't overwrite your existing work scenes that you need. But do feel free to try it out and see what's improved, because we're aware of this one and we are working on it. And once again, it's just this complexity of different things. I mean, it's a render engine. The viewport is a render engine, real-time render engine, and it just has different ways of representing materials, and we have to convert across to
Yeah. Another one from Michael. Is there a possibility to upload custom items to the Cosmos library? Meaning that it will become your only source of assets.
Yeah, an asset management tool. You can't right now. We are aware of it as being a really good idea. So we have that in mind. That functionality isn't there right now. It won't be 11.15 either, so it won't be 11 3 weeks. But we're aware of it, and ultimately we'd like to offer that. So it's stay with us as we keep improving things.
That's a pretty good idea indeed. From Amit, please try to update Corona Academy. It's been a long time since there is nothing new on it. Ned has promised last time. It's a great resource for the artist to learn and absorb the software's ins and outs.
I will pass that along. We don't, and certainly don't blame Nate's. Again, it's one of these coordinated tasks that involves a lot of people being in alignment. And thank you for saying that and emphasizing how important it is to you. That's the kind of feedback that will, let us see if we can change how we're creating these things, change the workflow that we use to roll them out, to perhaps get some more stuff done more quickly. And hearing from you that you find it very useful and you want to see more is a good thing. Thank you. But unfortunately, I can't give you a magic answer. But yes, I will say, look, we need to get on this and find a way of doing it better. Because thank you for your feedback. That's what lets me say these things and carry some weight. It's not my idea; it's our users.
Yeah, totally. And of course, we have to remember that without the like all resources that come with the software, like learning resources and materials and everything,
Mm.
you first need to finish the software so you can start producing that sort of material.
Yes,
So
and
sometimes, like,
actually, it is really hard to make tutorials. I
yeah,
mean, at least I'm okay. It's hard to make good ones. I mean, it'd be easy enough to knock something out quickly, I guess. I'm making the release video right now for 2015, and put together a good video. It's actually challenging. Some
yes,
people are natural at it. I'm not. I think I come across well, but I'm not natural at making it quickly. I'm that triangle. You can have it quick, good, or cheap, or whatever. And I'm like, you can have it good, but it's going to be slow. It's not going to be quick.
sure, sure.
So yeah, it is a challenge to resource these things, especially because we have quite a few products in the ecosystem now. There's a lot to try and cover, and how one thing connects into another. But that does not reduce the fact that your request is important, and we'd love to address that. And the more you request it, as I say, that really is what lends weight to things. Is our users want it? There can be no bigger argument than that, right?
Yeah. Another one from Marlon. Will the new reparsing also work for stills you want to re-render, like a quicker render start?
No, not that I'm aware of, because it is dependent on the fact it's systematically going through frame by frame by frame by frame, and it has the information put to one side. Versus, I mean, it wouldn't know where to find the information if you are just redoing a still. So I don't believe that would be any benefit, because it doesn't cache the parsing in a way that would be accessible outside of the rendering of the animation.
Hmm.
So that's why I'm not a dev, even though I have a reasonable amount of technical knowledge. So I could be wrong. It's certainly not intended to do that. Is what I can tell you. It's very much intended. I mean, if you start the animation again, the first frame always parses as long as it would. It's only on subsequent frames in the rendering that it can reuse what it had already calculated. My guess is it's probably held in memory rather than written to disk. So once you start from a still, it's not kept that in memory. So I mean, it's a thing to request if you like. Future request. And as I say, I could be wrong, but I'll investigate some more. But just to avoid disappointment, I would say I think not.
Yeah, and we have to remember that memory management is probably the trickiest part of any render. Like, because there's infinite possibilities of what users will throw at the renderer and how you
Mm.
manage it. Like, you have to account for bad users, people who don't know what they're doing in first place. Because again, I can drive my motorcycle or ride my motorcycle, if that's more proper. I don't know. And then if I want to fit an elephant on it, it will break because it was not made. And it's not Honda's fault. It's my fault. So I'd say that memory handling is something like that. Like, people throw whatever they want at a software and they just expect it to work, and you have to do your best so the software will work most times.
And we want to, we try and enable that as much as possible to let you put an elephant on it, and it may not go very fast, but at least it'll go. But yes, not always possible, and there's a lot of data involved. When you're dealing with all the geometry, all the textures, all the lights, and you're tracing how the lights move through the scene, it can build up to a lot of data pretty quickly. So yeah, memory management is always a challenge.
I think it's the hugest pain. Another question here: is there any chances for Corona Scatter to have macro presets for certain animation and effects like
Hmm.
Forest Pack has? I have one question on top of that. Uh, s- we all know that different softwares have similar features. For example, you have Corona Scatter, which is in a way similar to what Forest Pack does.
Hmm.
The question is, until what point can we expect Corona Scatter or some other tool like that to, step toe to toe with specialized tools like Forest Pack, for example? Or can we ever expect Corona Scatter to become Forest Pack or, scatter from Cyanide or whatever?
Hmm. I would say no, because obviously, if you are doing just one thing, you can really dive into it both in terms of your devs and your code and your design. So Forest Pipe will always have the edge over any, not just Chaos Scatter, but over any inbuilt scatter tool. And the concept is just to get you, of scatter. The idea is you need to do it a lot. We'll get you 95% of the way there. And if you want that last 5%, you may have to go and grab some third party tool someplace. So, I mean, our aim has never been to um, replace Forest Pack, or I mean, I don't think I too would like working with us if that was our aim, and they love working with us, and we love working with them.
Yeah.
So I don't. That's not really the intention of providing a scatter tool inside a random engine. It's the convenience and ease of use and keeping it nice and easy, which also means stripping it down a little bit to things that you probably don't need 90% of the time, so why make it more complicated than it needs to be? But then, of course, when you do need it, that extra uh, complexity, shall we call it, is actually just extra functionality. So I certainly wouldn't expect, because it's not our intention of killing off Forest Pack or replace Forest Pack or Route Blown or anything else. We're not going after that. We're just trying to develop a tool that is useful for our users, that they just have it there instantly, automatically. It's right there. That will get them most of the way in the kinds of things they are likely doing. And that's how we view Scatter. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does. And I think you have a good point, a pretty good point. Like if you need something that specialized, that deep, maybe you should
Mm,
use a proper tool. There's always a tool for
mm,
that, as what people say, right? So like if you have very specific needs regarding
mm,
like scattering or some sort, you should look into a specialized solution, not into a
mhm,
generic solution, because in the end that's how it goes, right? Corona is a renderer, V-Ray is a renderer, uh, Unreal Engine is a renderer. So like expecting them to have pretty deep tools in every aspect of the production is like, I would say it's a little too much, and then people start saying that the software got too complicated to use.
yeah. I mean, I think 3ds Max is particles, but are you telling me that you don't need Phoenix or Tyflow or something? It's like, okay, has particles, but they only go so far. And by the way, for C4D users of Corona 15 will now at long last have a dedicated particle shader so that you can work with the C4D particle system. It's been a request that's come in quite a few times, and that should be out. And as I say, if you want to try a preview build, it should be out next week, I think. I've yet to test it myself. But yes, so finally, you'll be able to use particles. You could always use them before, but the actual particles wouldn't respond to things like age, velocity, etc. The kinds of things you want particles to respond to. But the new particle shader will be able to access that data from the particle system and use it to change the color, transparency, etc. of the particles. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's funny. Sorry, I will keep getting sidetracked into some of the new features as we go.
Which is good. Come on, it means we have new features coming up. Another
Yes.
question from Michael: can we incorporate cornices and baseboard collections in the
Ooh.
Cosmos as well, like in the sweep profile? It would lead to a floor generator sort of solution in a way.
That sounds good. Can you email me or ping me on Facebook or something with a suggestion, and I'll pass it along to the Cosmos team because it's a really good suggestion. And again, I'm afraid, you can see this grey. I will forget if you don't send me something in written form. So please ping that into me because yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. Again, people, it's stuff like that we want when we ask for feedback for anything. Like, okay, this is useful. This is genuinely useful. It's not like it's technically hard to implement. I'd say, like,
Mhm.
I don't see it as a, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't
Right.
see it being like a hassle to implement. But it's a pretty good idea. So if we are able to implement it, why not? And that would benefit all users, not only Corona users, but V-Ray
Yes.
users as well. So it's like
Yes.
I'd say it's a
Yeah, and
win-win.
Cosmos. Yeah, Cosmos is kind of universal. Medscape, Envision,
Antigen and
V-Ray,
so on. Yeah.
Vantage, Kimona. That's the whole concept, is that it provides you with assets, no matter which of the render engines or DCCs or whatever you're using.
Finally, we have a question from Tio. Tom, are you going to the World Viz Fest? Rick surely is. Yes, I
No,
I, I kind of have to be there because I'll be presenting the 3D award there.
you, you,
It
you
will
got me though.
feel kind of awkward if I'm not there. But how about you, Tom? Are you coming?
No, sadly, we have. It's been financially challenging times. Everybody's aware of what the economy is like these days, and so we're trying to be cautious on everything to our travel budget, for instance. So I'm actually going to EUE, which is actually 5th and 6th of June. So if you're going to the end user event in Utrecht, I'll see you there. But unfortunately, I had to pick and choose, and the WVF wasn't. It was kind of second on my list, and I was like, somebody else wanted to go to that, and I was like, actually, it makes more sense for them to go, even though I'd love to be there. And it makes more sense for me to do the EUE, so let's do that. So unfortunately, not. So maybe next year. I've actually never been to Poland, and I really want to go.
It's pretty nice.
So I'll put that early on my travel requests next year, I think, and we shall see. That'll be good.
Yeah, for everybody, it's been a very challenging time for traveling.
Mm.
It's like air tickets
Uh,
now cost double as they used to. So
mhm,
as
mhm,
far as we know, we don't have a very optimistic view from the
no.
prices going down. To be honest, so
Yes.
we are very mindful of travel right now because of that. It's not because we don't want to go to places,
Oh yes.
honestly,
Yeah.
right? But it's
Yeah.
become
Totally.
challenging, right? And also we have like you just mentioned that you're going to UE, like it's pretty close to the WVF, like date wise. So it's like
It is
sometimes
close
you have
date
to
wise.
like
That was the
not be in two places at the same time. But
That
last
was
year,
the other problem, yeah, and especially coming across from the US. And I do want to drop by Prague, chat with my team in person. And then there was a EUE and WVF at the same time. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can fit all this in.
yeah,
So yeah, unfortunately, someone had to give. And this year it was WVF, but next year we'll see. And,
well,
and
we
you've
will
got
be
Rick though. You don't need me. He's going to be there.
there. Yeah, we will be there. So guys, if you are there, just stop by and say hello.
Bye,
Guys,
Fabio.
so I think we can wrap this up for today.
Oh my
We're
gosh.
like well
Look at the
past an
time.
hour.
Sorry, everybody. I hope you've not minded staying late. Like I say, once you get me started talking, I just don't shut up.
This is this has been very nice. Thank you so much, Tom, for being. But
Oh,
this
you're
was
welcome.
fun, genuinely fun. Thanks everybody who was here asking questions. This is
Yes.
why we do this kind of thing, so you guys can ask your questions. I have the um, the perk of being able to ping Tom on the chat whenever I want if I have any questions to him.
Yep.
But I know that sometimes people are like, "Oh, is this going to be with Corona, the software of my choice?" Like we know how much you guys rely on software Chaos produces,
Mm.
so that's why we're doing this. And if you have any questions, if you have any comments or whatever, please feel free to email me, email Tom, come to CGconnect and, ask away,
Yeah.
send your suggestions, go to Discord. And so we have like 1,000 different ways so you guys can reach out to us.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I'm
feel
on
free, please.
Discord. I'm on Facebook, and people, they PM me not that often, but you can. I always love to hear from the community. Email, obviously, a bit old fashioned perhaps, and a bit official and formal, but it always works. It's just tom.grimes@chaos.com. Our forums. I have to say, hearing from users and seeing what you all create with the software is what brings me the greatest pleasure. It's why we do what we do. And yeah, don't feel you have to wait for one of these to ask me a question. You can, because it's great to interact with you in person, but you can reach out to me by loads of different ways. And I'm always happy to hear from you, do my best to answer the question, and do my best to pass along the feedback. Thank you all for coming, by the way. That's great.
Yes, thank you all. And this session will be available on YouTube shortly after we wrap things up. So I'd say I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Oh, I'm showing the bald spot. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.